It seems you might not possess the necessary qualities to successfully manage a business, dear brother. Greetings. I am Ethan Kessler. For 15 years, I served as the operational backbone of Skyreach Hotels, our family's cherished boutique chain. At 42, my focus wasn't on pursuing titles or corner offices. I ensured that our 8 properties in the Northeast operated seamlessly, that our staff felt appreciated, and that our guests continued to return. My sister Veronica stood across the desk, her arms crossed in a thoughtful manner. She had held the position of president at Skyreach for precisely 11 days following our father's decision to transition into the role of chairman. It seems that her initial choice as an executive was to part ways with me. "The board is in consensus that we require new viewpoints," she remarked, observing me as I cleared out my desk drawer. "A consultant from Marriott has been engaged to take over your responsibilities." I maintained a calm expression, nodding in response. The board she referred to consisted of herself, our father, and 2 of her business school friends, whom she had appointed just last week. My sister had consistently represented the company, captivating investors, addressing industry conferences, and receiving recognition for our success. In the meantime, I took charge of supplier negotiations, oversaw renovations, and fostered relationships with staff, the essential tasks that ensured our profitability. She glanced at her watch and remarked that you would receive 6 months of severance. The Human Resources Department has prepared the necessary documentation. I carefully placed my family photos in a box, ensuring that nothing would get damaged. Last to be placed was the framed picture of our grandfather, standing proudly in front of our first hotel in Burlington, the one Veronica had never taken the time to showcase in her office. She nudged, expecting a response. Her immaculate blazer complemented her flawless manicure with every hair perfectly in position. I simply offered a wry smile, wishing you all the best with the Westbrook renovation project. Her eyes sparkled with a brief flicker of alarm. The Westbrook property stood as our most significant project, and its renovation had fallen behind schedule and exceeded the budget and issues she would now need to address in my absence. "We will navigate this situation successfully," she assured. "My consultant has successfully transformed properties that are twice as large." I acknowledged once more, grabbed my box, and exited in silence. A decade and a half of dedication overlooked in a mere quarter of an hour discussion. What Veronica may not have realized, or perhaps overlooked in her quest for control, was that 5 years prior, our father had taken me aside to share advice that transformed everything. He had advised Brandon, "Never put all your eggs in one basket." The hospitality industry is part of our heritage, yet it is the land that truly holds the significant worth. I embraced the guidance, subtly progressing as my sister garnered recognition and honors. As I departed from our corporate office in Boston, I felt a sense of calm. My patience was steadfast, and it would soon be rewarded as the lease renewals approached in a mere 3 months. My childhood was filled with memories of my father, transforming a single struggling property in Burlington, Vermont, into a well-respected regional hotel chain that reached for the skies. As Veronica accompanied him at industry events and investor meetings, I found myself more drawn to trailing our maintenance staff through the back hallways, gaining a deeper understanding of how the buildings truly operated. By the age of 16, I had already mastered the art of troubleshooting a malfunctioning HVAC system and negotiating with linen suppliers, demonstrating skills on par with any adult in the workforce. My father would say, not unkindly, that your sister has a knack for understanding the broader perspective. You recognize the nuances that enable it to happen. The equilibrium was effective until it faltered. As our father grew older, Danielle's aspirations flourished. She started to engage consultants who delivered polished reports, advocating for organizational restructuring. While she discussed ideas of national expansion, celebrity collaborations, and lifestyle branding, at times, I found myself questioning whether she truly recalled that our purpose was to provide individuals with a cozy place to rest. 5 years ago, when our father first hinted at the idea of stepping back, I recognized the signs. While conducting a regular financial review, I observed that our top 3 most profitable properties, Burlington, Portland, and Westbrook, were all situated on leased land instead of owned land. The previous owners were quite advanced in age when we entered into 99-year leases many years back, and now their descendants are seeking to sell. During lunch at his favorite steakhouse, I shared with my father that it was a vulnerability. Should someone acquire that land and increase our rates, we find ourselves in a difficult position. He gave a thoughtful nod. I've been intending to discuss that matter. However, the recent acquisition of the property in Providence has absorbed all of our capital. I could purchase them, I stated thoughtfully, from my perspective. Subsequently lease back to Skyreach at the same rates. Nah, my father observed me intently through his glasses. Such an endeavor would demand a considerable commitment from you, Brandon. I've been putting aside funds, I responded straightforwardly, and I have faith in our organization. The following day, he facilitated an introduction to our bank. After a span of 3 months, I became the owner of the land that housed our 3 flagship hotels. The organization continued as the tenant under a 5-year preferential lease agreement that would require renewal. Is Veronica aware of this arrangement? As we signed the papers, my father inquired. Everything is detailed in the corporate documents I mentioned. However, she only engages with those when absolutely necessary. He let out a soft laugh. Your sister perceives the broader landscape while you focus on the individual details. There will be moments when she truly grasps the significance of that. As I drove home from my final day at Skyreach, I found myself contemplating whether that moment had truly come. I had been keenly aware of the nuanced shifts that had occurred throughout the past year. Veronica has been leaving me out of strategic meetings, challenging my budget requests, and reallocating my top team members. The foundation for my departure had been established well in advance of today's discussion. The day following my dismissal, I rose at my usual hour, 5:30 a.m. For 15 years, I began each day by examining overnight reports from our properties, proactively tackling any issues before they had the chance to escalate. Today, my phone was unusually quiet. No urgent situations. No urgent issues to address, only quietude. I brewed a cup of coffee and settled onto my back porch, taking in the view of Boston Harbor. The container ships glided quietly over the water, steady and purposeful. I have always held a deep appreciation for their remarkable efficiency. Every action is purposeful. There is no requirement for acknowledgement. It's simply the consistent task of transferring value from one location to another. My phone vibrated with a notification. A message from Javier, our maintenance lead at the Westbrook property. I heard about the recent events. That's their loss for sure. The new consultant is already implementing changes, taking shortcuts during the renovation process. Unfavorable. I responded with a brief thank you, but refrained from giving any advice. That issue is no longer my concern. A new message arrived this time from our father. How about enjoying breakfast at Rosie's 8 o'clock in the morning? Rosie's was a charming diner, located just 2 blocks away from our inaugural corporate office. It had been years since we last shared a meal there together. Upon my arrival, I found him seated in a corner booth, appearing more aged than I recalled. He acknowledged my presence with a nod as I took a seat. She informed me after the event, he remarked without any introduction. I would have approached it in another way. However, I noticed that you didn't intervene. There is no inquiry here. With a deep sigh, he stirred his coffee thoughtfully. Veronica believes that Skyreach should undergo a transformation, shifting towards a more corporate structure and moving away from its current family-style management approach. Do you concur, I believe? He took a moment, selecting his words with great thoughtfulness. Your sister possesses a vision for growth that captivates the board's attention. The waitress effortlessly delivered our customary orders, anticipating our needs without a word. He enjoys black coffee paired with blueberry pancakes, while I prefer eggs and toast. Certain aspects remained constant. The territory, he remarked once she had departed. Veronica lacks a complete grasp of the lease arrangements. I slice my eggs with precision. The corporate documents provide a comprehensive overview. It's clear that she overlooks the details. He directed a sharp gaze my way. The renewal is approaching quickly. It has been confirmed for a duration of 3 months. I have already consulted with my attorney regarding the terms. My father paused, placing his fork gently on the table. What are your intentions, Brandon? The inquiry lingered in the air between us. In that moment, it struck me that I had been anticipating this conversation for years, even going so far as to prepare for it. The unassuming, dependable son has finally gained an advantage over the cherished daughter. I had envisioned a sense of fulfillment and validation. Rather, I simply experienced a sense of fatigue. Ultimately, I concluded with market-rate leases. Simply put, that's all there is to it, he acknowledged with a deliberate nod. This will have a profound effect on our operating expenses. Indeed, I locked eyes with him. Indeed, it will. We completed our breakfast quietly, each lost in our own thoughts. As we ventured outdoors, he gently rested a hand on my shoulder. Your sister views business as a competitive challenge, he remarked. It has consistently been viewed as a solid base for further development. Remember that distinction. I observed him as he walked away, his shoulders gently bent, a testament to the passage of time. For the first time, I gained a profound understanding of what had been right in front of me all along. This situation went beyond Veronica simply underestimating my abilities. The piece delved into the complexities of our father's role in fostering a divide that had been simmering for years. I arrived back home and set up my home office. Framed on the wall are the original plans for our Burlington hotel, a reminder of the moment I acquired the land it stands on. It's essential to concentrate on the fundamentals. It was 2 weeks post-dismissal when Veronica finally reached out. I allowed it to go to voicemail, then attentively listened to her thoughtfully crafted message. Brandon, it's important for us to have a conversation about the transition. There are a few files that appear to be absent. Please return my call at your earliest convenience. No need for an apology. There was no recognition of the fact that she had let go of her brother after a decade and a half of dedication. It's simply the standard routine. I removed the message and dedicated the afternoon to catching up with an old college friend who has transitioned into a commercial real estate developer. The following day, she showed up at my condo. As I opened the door, she gracefully swept by me and entered the living room. She remarked, "You're overlooking me." I acknowledge your choice to exclude me from company matters. I stood there as she took a seat on my couch without an invitation. Which files do you find yourself lacking? Contracts with vendors' schedules for maintenance and the comprehensive renovation plans for Westbrook. Her expression darkened. Additionally, financial documents. There appears to be a deficiency in our property lease information. All the information can be found in the shared drive, I responded. Structured by property and department, as per usual. Your organizational system could benefit from a more intuitive approach. She crossed her legs, her designer heel tapping with annoyance. Your substitute requires background information. I filled my cup with coffee, neglecting to extend the same courtesy to her. My successor is a hospitality consultant with a proven track record of revitalizing properties significantly larger than ours. I'm confident he will be able to devise an effective filing system. She felt a sharp sting as her own words echoed back to her, causing her eyes to narrow in response. This lacks the necessary support, Brandon. The organization requires... I no longer work for the company, I interjected. Do you recall? Veronica stood carefully adjusting the fabric of her skirt. Excellent. I will have the legal team formally request the documents. Proceed with your intentions, I remarked, making my way to the door. Our discussion had come to a close. A week later, a certified letter arrived from the lawyer representing Skyreach, requesting all documents related to the company's operations. I shared it with my attorney, who provided a comprehensive list of all the information currently accessible on company servers, along with a courteous reminder that my personal notes and materials belong to me. In the meantime, I began to get calls from employees at Skyreach. The new consultant was introducing measures aimed at enhancing efficiency, reducing staff hours, postponing maintenance, and substituting long-standing suppliers with more cost-effective options. The spirit of the team was dwindling. Guests were taking note. Instead of feeling fulfilled, I experienced an unusual emptiness. These were individuals I had collaborated with for many years, some that I had personally brought on board. Their means of survival were at risk due to my sister's foresight and my lack of presence. Subsequently, we received an email from our property insurance provider seeking clarification regarding recent ownership changes that impact 3 significant properties. It seems that Veronica tried to revise the insurance policies and uncovered some revealing information. The organization lacked ownership of the land beneath our most lucrative hotels. I certainly did. I sent the email to my lawyer without replying. The following morning, my father reached out to me. Have you ever considered his voice carried a certain tension? Isn't it surprising that Veronica doesn't engage with legal documents? Absolutely. A deep exhale. An emergency board meeting has been convened by her. Claims that essential information has been concealed from the organization. Everything was laid bare. I responded with calmness. Each lease agreement is thoroughly documented. The organization has been compensating me for my rental space for a duration of 5 years. Compensating you? He appeared truly perplexed. The financial records indicate transactions made to BK Holdings. She believed that was a company focused on managing properties. BK Holdings. Ethan Kessler Holdings offers a compelling perspective. My sister had been approving financial statements for years, completely unaware that she was authorizing payments to her own brother. The board meeting is scheduled for tomorrow, my father continued. Your presence is essential. I reminded him that I'm no longer on the board. Brandon, his tone became gentler. This remains a cherished endeavor for our family. Once the call ended, I found myself at my desk, idly rotating my grandfather's vintage hotel key in my hands. The very key that unlocked my father's initial property evolved into what we now know as Skyreach. It truly is a family affair. However, it was expected that families would support one another. An hour later, I received a call from my lawyer. Skyreach's legal team is seeking details regarding the renewal of leases. What steps would you like to take next? I have reached my conclusion. Please forward the updated terms to them. Current market pricing. No specific considerations are necessary. The Westbrook Hotel rose majestically to 8 stories at the intersection of Ocean Avenue, its expansive windows capturing and mirroring the soft morning light dancing across Casco Bay. I took a hands-on approach in transforming it from a worn-out motor lodge into one of our most unique properties. As I sat in my car across the street, I observed guests flowing through the doors, blissfully ignorant of the corporate intrigue playing out behind the scenes. I received a text from Patricia, my lawyer, which made my phone buzz. The new lease terms have been received, and a response is anticipated today. I was aware that the figures would astonish them. The market rates I proposed 5 years ago have resulted in significant savings for Skyreach, amounting to nearly $2 million each year across the 3 properties. The revised terms would completely remove that benefit, as I observed a recognizable silver Mercedes glide into the reserved parking space by the entrance. Danielle. Her presence in Portland today was unexpected. I settled deeper into my seat as she entered the building, phone held to her ear, her gestures animated and expressive. My curiosity took over. I reached out to Javier. "Your sister's quite upset." He replied, skipping the pleasantries. "Urgent evaluation." Also brought along the new consultant. "What are they seeking? Documents related to property, including blueprints. Discussed aspects related to structural evaluation." He softened his tone. "It seems to me that they are exploring the possibility of contesting your ownership claim." Following my expression of gratitude, I made my way to the Portland Public Records Office. I accessed the original deed transfers, property surveys, and lease agreements on my laptop. Everything is in order, fully compliant, just as anticipated. I was taken aback by the discoveries I made in the neighboring county records. A permit application submitted 2 years prior by Danielle utilizing her married name. A permit has been granted for the development of a significant commercial property on pristine oceanfront land located just beyond the boundaries of Portland City. I verified the business entity Kessler Vision LLC rather than Skyreach, which is a completely different company owned solely by my sister. Additional investigation uncovered comparable permits in Burlington and close to our Westbrook property, all submitted by the same LLC. Everything revolves around competing hotel developments. The understanding struck with an intensity that felt almost tangible. As I diligently oversaw the operations of our family's hotels, Veronica was secretly strategizing to establish her own rival chain. She hadn't let me go because she believed I lacked the necessary skills. She dismissed me because I obstructed her genuine aspirations. I reached out to Olivia without delay. "I would like you to investigate a company named Kessler Vision LLC." Just 2 days later, we had a comprehensive understanding. For almost 3 years, Veronica had been engaging with potential investors to establish her own luxury hotel brand. Patricia's business plan, acquired through a connection, clearly outlined the strategy of utilizing the expertise and client base cultivated at Skyreach, while focusing on the same markets that our most successful properties thrived in. On the morning of the urgent board meeting, I got a call from an unexpected individual, Philip Ross, a friend of Danielle's from business school, who was a member of our board. He stated plainly that he had reviewed the lease renewal terms and mentioned having heard whispers regarding Kessler Vision. "It's more than mere speculation," I responded. "A moment of silence. I held your father in high regard. That is the reason I became a member of this board." Yet another moment of stillness. Veronica informed us that you are choosing to step away on your own accord, expressing a desire to pursue other opportunities. Did she discuss her other opportunities? A deep exhale. "No, that's the reason I'm reaching out." I noticed the sound of papers being shuffled. The board meeting is scheduled for 2 o'clock. It's important to note that Veronica plans to suggest that Skyreach sell the Westbrook, Burlington, and Portland properties. The lease terms render them unprofitable. The last element fell perfectly into position. Her intention was for Skyreach to divest the hotels, allowing her new company to purchase them at significantly reduced prices. The structures, rather than the property itself, are giving rise to a complex scenario in which her new endeavor would take on the role of my tenant. "I appreciate you sharing that with me," I said. "I didn't share anything with you," Philip responded, then ended the call. I remained completely motionless, allowing a chilling anger to flow over me. This transcended mere business. This was a level of betrayal I never could have envisioned. Rather than participating in the board meeting, I opted to fly to New York for a meeting with Nathaniel Hayes, the CEO of Commonwealth Hotels. Our paths had intertwined at various industry events throughout the years, and there was a time when he had made an effort to recruit me. At that moment, I had chosen to decline out of a sense of loyalty to my family's business. But now that loyalty seemed to be in vain. Nathaniel noted the intriguing timing as we took our seats in his corner office with a view of Central Park. It has come to my attention that Skyreach is contemplating the sale of certain properties. Information spread rapidly throughout the hospitality industry. I have verified 3 properties. He leaned forward, emphasizing that they are the most profitable ones. Do you, by chance, possess the land that lies beneath them? I acknowledged a circumstance my sister only began to understand not long ago. Julian's smile conveyed a sense of purpose. Could you clarify your proposal? Brandon A. Collaboration. The buildings are acquired by Commonwealth following the sale by Skyreach. I retain ownership of the land while providing you with advantageous lease terms. I gently pushed a folder across his desk. Comprehensive financial information, ongoing operations, and my suggestion. As Nathaniel meticulously examined the documents, I found myself lost in thought, gazing out at the serene park. After 15 years at Skyreach, I found myself in an office that offered a view unlike any I had experienced before. Veronica firmly believed that optimal environments were essential for client meetings and her personal workspace, consistently representing the essence of the organization, consistently in the spotlight. Nathaniel concluded by stating that these properties align perfectly with our growth strategy. However, I find myself intrigued. Why not just increase the rent and compel your sister to continue managing them? There would be an increase in your earnings. As I explained, she is already in the process of planning to launch a competing hotel chain, aimed specifically at Skyreach's audience. His eyebrows lifted in surprise. Are you still operating Skyreach? That's quite an aspiration. That's certainly one way to put it. I maintained a neutral tone. It seems her strategy involved diminishing the value of these properties, prompting Skyreach to sell them, and subsequently obtaining them through her new venture at lower costs. Nathaniel couldn't help but laugh at the thought of you being her landlord. Uncomfortable. I tend to be more discerning when selecting my business partners. I locked eyes with him directly. Commonwealth is known for its ability to keep employees on board during times of acquisition. That is significant to me. Nathaniel observed me intently for an extended period. He concluded that family businesses are intricate in nature. This has transcended family matters, I responded. It's essential to prioritize the well-being of those who contributed to the creation of these hotels. Just 2 days later, the legal team at Commonwealth commenced the process of drafting acquisition proposals. In the meantime, I reached out to Javier and other essential team members at the 3 locations, subtly notifying them of possible changes, while reassuring them that their roles would remain secure. The news emerged more swiftly than anticipated. A blog focused on the hospitality sector recently featured a thought-provoking piece discussing the financial challenges faced by Skyreach and the potential interest of Commonwealth in their prime locations. Danielle's reply came without hesitation. An internal communication clarifying that there are no intentions to sell any properties, while also emphasizing Skyreach's robust standing in the market. Then my father called, his voice filled with fatigue. The board turned down her proposal to sell. That sounds satisfactory, I replied plainly. She is absolutely livid. Indicates that you are compromising the integrity of the organization. He took a moment to reflect. She discovered your discussions with Commonwealth. I chose to stay quiet. Ethan let out a deep sigh. What is your goal in this endeavor? The inquiry lingered in the air, more weighty than he realized. What was my objective? Retribution, fairness. Or perhaps something more essential. A moment of reflection that has been awaited for some time. I am safeguarding the foundation I've established, I responded at last, in the manner you instructed me. 3 weeks later, Skyreach's stock experienced a decline of 12% after a quarterly report revealed a downturn in revenue alongside rising costs. On that very day, I received an official request from the board, excluding Danielle, to convene a meeting focused on exploring strategic alternatives for properties facing challenges. My lawyer and Julian's team approached the meeting with great care and attention to detail. As I entered Skyreach's conference room for the first time since my dismissal, a wave of reflection washed over me. Veronica occupied the head of the table, her expression a mask of tightly restrained frustration. Our father sat to her right, embodying the wisdom and weariness of his 70 years. The board members occupied the last available seats, their faces maintaining a composed neutrality. I settled into my position at the far end, opened my portfolio, and patiently awaited their initial move. Let's clarify the situation. Veronica started her tone sharp. My brother is trying to seize control of the company that our father established. That is not correct, I responded with composure. I am just asserting my rights as a property owner. Commonwealth Hotels is looking to acquire properties that Skyreach no longer intends to manage in light of the updated lease agreements. Philip Ross prepared to speak, clearing his throat with intention. The board did not give its approval for the sale of those properties. The board was confronted with inaccurate information, and I responded by distributing folders to each member. The documents reveal that during her tenure as president of Skyreach, Veronica was concurrently working on a rival hotel chain aimed at the same markets. The atmosphere became hushed. As my father opened his folder, the color drained from his face. Veronica exclaimed in disbelief, "This is absurd." Kessler Vision is a consulting firm distinct from a hotel development company currently handling permit applications in 3 cities where Skyreach operates. I concluded for her, highlighting a business plan that clearly outlines its aim to utilize the expertise and clientele cultivated at Skyreach. Our father faced her, his expression revealing a deep sense of betrayal. Is this accurate? Her silence spoke volumes. I persisted. The offer from Commonwealth surpasses the market value for the properties. The plan ensures that all current employees will be retained and that all commitments to customers will be honored. I took a moment to reflect. Danielle's venture was never meant to pursue that direction. For years you've been plotting this, she charged, her voice trembling, acquiring the land in anticipation of setting your trap. Actually, I made a correction. I acquired the land to safeguard our family enterprise. You made the choice to exclude me from that family. The board reached a unanimous decision to accept Commonwealth's offer, with one member abstaining, our father, who remained still and silent during the entire process. As the meeting wrapped up, Veronica exited with a fierce silence, leaving everyone in stunned disbelief. Afterward, Philip came to me. He spoke softly, indicating that the board would be asking for Danielle's resignation tomorrow. Interim leadership will be essential as we navigate the restructuring process. I gently shook my head, reflecting on the situation. I won't be that person. I have organized alternative plans. 1 year later, I found myself on the rooftop terrace of the former Westbrook Hotel, which has now become the flagship of Commonwealth's Northeast Collection. The property, now known as the Harbor View, retained much of its original character. Javier continued to oversee maintenance, the majority of the staff remained, and guests continued to relish the stunning ocean views that had always set it apart. Nathaniel approached me, presenting a quarterly report. Revenue has increased by 17% compared to the previous year. Your observations regarding the local market potential were indeed accurate. In my role as consulting director for Commonwealth's regional properties, I focused on the essential tasks that often go unnoticed, such as negotiating with suppliers, mentoring staff, and upholding quality standards. There are no high-rise offices, no formal attire, and no corporate maneuvering. Merely the task at hand, which was all I had ever desired. "Have you had the chance to see your father?" Nathaniel inquired with great thoughtfulness. I acknowledged with a nod. "Gatherings for dinner each month. He is navigating the transition into retirement." Following the takeover, he completely withdrew from Skyreach. The company continued to manage 5 properties, yet none were achieving the same level of performance as those acquired by Commonwealth. "What about your sister Kessler Vision sought bankruptcy protection last month?" I expressed it devoid of any sense of fulfillment or remorse. It appears that embarking on hotel development demands a blend of more than just ambition and a business degree. We found ourselves enveloped in a serene quietude, observing the graceful movements of boats as they glided through the harbor. In the end, Nathaniel departed for another meeting, leaving me to ponder my thoughts in solitude. I received a text from my father that made my phone buzz. "Shall we discuss dinner plans for tonight, taking the grandchildren along?" I nodded and affirmed. My niece and nephew were not to blame for their mother's choices, and I took great care to preserve my bond with them during the upheaval in the corporate world. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I cast a final gaze at the property. It's not only about the structure, but also the ground it stands on, the cornerstone that enabled all subsequent achievements. Ultimately, that was the realization that had always eluded Danielle. Success transcended the size of the office or the grandeur of the title held. It was about building something resilient enough to withstand any challenge. I averted my gaze from the scenery and made my way down the stairs. It's time to get ready for a delightful dinner with the family. This component is certainly worth retaining.